Hello everybody, thanks so much for joining me on the live stream for Augmented Series 2. Before we jump in to the live stream, I just want to tell you that this update is completely free. So if you've owned any of the Augmented Series from the past, so strings, voices, brass, woodwinds, etc., go on to Arpeggiator Software Center, go on the ASC, download the update and you can follow along with me. So in this live stream, there's a few topics that I want to address. One was, why did we update? Why did we feel the need to update Augmented Series? And this is kind of more talking about the workflow, things that we felt like we could have improved over the time that it's been on the market. The second one was sort of the content. So voices and strings have received massive content updates, including new samples and new factory banks. We've added 2 new instruments inside V Collection 11, which you can see right now as Augmented Mallets, which is like marimbas, vibraphones, CEST, and we've also added Yangtze, which is a nice collection of traditional Chinese instruments, and augmented them through all the sound synthesis. And then finally, yeah, we can listen to that content. Maybe, it depends, listen to some other stuff, or we could go through some compositions that I wrote yesterday quite quickly just to show you on the live stream. So first of all, I wanted to actually show you the V1 of woodwinds and explain just some of the themes and topics that came up in terms of some of the flaws of the workflow and how we felt like we could improve this whole series. So it's been on the market for 3 years now. Strings and Voices came out in 2021. Throughout that time, I've been on forums and YouTube comments, doing lots of surveys from Arpeggiator. And in 2023, I did some real in-depth like user research, meeting hobbyists, all the way to like professional composers, students, ambient electronic artists, to try and understand where did we succeed, where could we improve, and just, yeah, what could we do for this big update? So let me just quickly open up woodwinds. We can have a quick look about the big, there's like 3 or 4 main themes that came about from this research. So we can have just a quick listen, so you can't. So this is Augmented Woodwinds. And we can see this is the old play page. And people really liked this play page. They loved playing with all the macros. It was really satisfying to play through all the presets, playing through the macros. However, when they jumped into the advanced page, more for the beginner intermediate, people felt a little bit lost or a bit intimidated. And then once they understood that there was these 2 layers, these 2 parts, they wanted to go in and change some sounds here and there, change the presets, customize them. So it was quite an interesting observation to see, and could we include that into the V2? The second thing was the macros were so prominent here, and that's great. I mean, they're really fun to play with. However, when we jumped into the advanced pages, they're a little bit lost. They come down the bottom here. There was this page here. It was a little bit confusing and ambiguous. So could we address that with the V2? And then there was 2 other sort of main features, which was one was the morph, and the morph was down here. It just was a little bit complicated to set up. You had your volumes down here. A little bit technical. Could we improve this workflow that people were thinking it could be quicker and more intuitive? And then finally, just to say, was the modulation setup. So we made so much progress here with pigments and now with Synthex and all the new V Collection 11 SDK. We felt like we should really have the drag and drop, and we should have a new way of interacting here for Augmented. And then it was the modulation pages. If I wanted to set up an LFO, I'd have to come here, change the shape, come back here. This workflow, we felt like we could be improved. So these are just sort of some main themes to just think about when we look at V2. So let me go back to mallets. So this is the instrument that came out a few days ago. At Christmas, we did a little play version, and now this is the full mallets, which you just heard some presets called Dreamy Vibraphone. sounding really nice. And this is the brand new play page. So every instrument has this new play page, and as you see, it's quite different. Up the top, we have our sound sources. So as I said, when most people, they had fun on the play page, when they went into the layer page, it was a little bit intimidating, let's say, and then they just wanted to change some of the sounds inside of the presets or just see what's inside this instrument. So from the get-go, you can already see that there's these two layers, there's these two parts, and then you can just start experimenting with existing presets or just finding your own from a new preset, for example. So we could go here, we've added this new roll the dice. So I could just see what this sounds like, add the wavetable. And even from like the play page, we can just start already experimenting and becoming a bit creative, start exploring what's inside this instrument. You can drag and drop here, you can turn off sounds, and you can solo sounds. And then we've introduced these new wallpapers. So one of the topics that I said at the beginning was the macros are really central, which is okay, but these are real instruments. These are mallets, these are violins, these are strings, these are choirs or trumpets from brass. We really wanted that to be like the main focus and to feel inspired and to understand that when you change these configurations, that the sound will change. And just to feel, yeah, inspired from this UI. And then we've dropped all the macros down to the bottom. They're still incredibly important and fun to play with. The morph and all the effects, the color. We want to make them a little bit less prominent. And the really interesting and cool thing that I like to show off now is that we have this play page and then we jump into the layer page and it's a complete mirror of the play page. So there's no more learning curve. You've learned this play page, it's fun, you can create on it, you can adjust the sound sources, you can understand what's inside from the drop downs, and then you can come into the layer pages and it's the same layout. So you can have all the sound sources here, you can drag and drop here. There's now a filter here. Apart from that, it's basically this is the same layout. So when I was testing with the same users that I tested with in 2023, showing them this, and they were just blown away about how intuitive it is now, and how we can learn from the play page, jump to this page. They felt much more confident to go and learn and experiment with modulation and sound design and things like that. So yeah, it was very rewarding to get that kind of feedback. And then I think I would just quite like to go through some of the new features and then talk about the morph and this modulation thing that was talked about in the V1. So I'm just going to make an init preset, which means just like a blank canvas. So bear with me, I'm not a proper sound designer, so it's just to kind of give you examples of the new features. So this is just a pure tremolo. And then this was one of the features that we really wanted to push and explain well, was this new morph states. So previously what I showed you, you had these numbers and it was a little bit technical, a little bit confusing. Now we just have these two very clean presets. One's called crossover, which means moving from layer A to layer B. So we have this sound, and then in layer B we just have a saw. From the wavetable, in the middle they're blended, and then layer B we have all of it. And then we've added this additive state. So this means that layer A never reduces in volume, but we just increase level B over the duration of morph. For example, I know it's like very simple, but it's really fun to like load up presets from strings and voices, for example, see what they've done in the morph, and change around the different states here. And then we also have the classic state, which was custom, which is this little pencil. And then you go on this cog button on the right, and then you have that original morphing if you want to do more complex volume changes between the 2 layers and the 4 parts. So now we have that quite simple morphing. We can maybe start doing a bit of sound design. One thing that I wanted to show you, that I showed you in the V1, was this modulation setup. Now we have drag and drop modulation, which is fantastic. So for example, over morph, I can open up the filter. Maybe open up a little bit more so we can hear it. It's simple, but as I'm moving morph, I'm opening up the filter. I could also do that with the position of the wavetable, for example. So drag morph over here, move the wavetable. Oop. Simple stuff like that, but it's really so much more quick and intuitive. You can come down here and see this little amounts down the bottom, which is the same across all the new VC11. So as soon as you've learnt this workflow, or learnt the workflow of the Synthex or the Jupiter 8000, you can come here and it's immediate. You already know what you're doing. It's really great. And then as you can see, we've now added all the modulation down the bottom, so no more jumping from different pages and things like that. It's all there. It's really intuitive to use, and again, it's like aligned all our software workflow. So you learn one thing of the V Collection 11, and you can quickly jump into here and already know how to use it, which is fantastic. Another feature that we've added is, before in the V1, all the envelopes were just for a part of a engine, and you couldn't let that modulate anything else. So now we've really freed that open. So let's have a sound and move morph over here. Let's have another part to layer A. Frozen Marimba sounds quite good. Should we stick with that? So if I just want to listen to Frozen Marimba, yeah, it sounds pretty nice. I might just put it up an octave. Sounds good. So now, for example, I can make Frozen Marimba come in with a longer attack. For example, and then just so you can audibly hear it quite quickly, let's put that on this filter cutoff. So even just with those two sounds, a little bit of filter opening, you're already starting on your way to get a nice preset. And then we have these two new filter bypasses, which are one of my favorite features inside the new, the new series. Very simple, but for me, and we're talking to testers, but for me it was like when I had strings and I had this like nice delicate violin sound, I might want to pair that with, I don't know, some sort of synth sound, like some VA analog oscillator, something like that. And then I'd filter it, and I'd filter out the, I'd want to filter the sort of the analog sound to sort of like make it a bit more round, a bit more warm, but it would adjust the strings and I'd kind of lose that nice quality of the sample. So here it's really great that I can just bypass, and now, for example, pure tremolo is just going to go through without any filtering. For for example. And then if I hold it down, we can hear the part 2 come into the sound. So. Which is really great. I'll do a nice example of strings a bit later on. But yeah, it's one of my favorite features we've added. And then another nice feature that we've added is the mod wheel. So when you come to these sort of cinematic, ambient, traditional libraries, usually the mod wheel is like the main source of expression for any keyboard player. And I wanted to make it really quick to easily set up here in Augmented. So right down the bottom, there's this button that does it. There's it in the keyboard mode. So I click that, and mod wheel is perfectly mapped to morph now. You have to put morph all the way down to 0 because the mod wheel modulates the morph. So if this is up, it won't work as well. So this needs to be down. You click that button, and you're in. We could listen to it on an actual preset from a professional. I don't know what this one sounds like. Not the biggest morph. So it's just really fun to feel a bit more expressive and just to set that up very quickly from the main interface. And then, yeah, I guess I haven't really properly gone through some of the sound sources of this new instrument. So just to show you, we have marimba. We could just have a little listen. We have marimba, celeste, tubular bells, and vibraphone. So, and they're sort of from classically played to more prepared stuff. So this is just like marimba on its own. Let me init preset here, sorry. You get the idea. Then we have some really interesting ones with like rattle, paper, slightly distorted. And even bowed. So really great sound content to start mixing with the synths. I'll just show you a few on the vibraphone. So we also have the bowed. Have a nice swell. I love these kind of articulations. To some coin, so like taping coin to the vibraphone. For example. So it's really fun to explore all these different articulations and different sounds from mallets. And I guess before moving on to strings and voices, I can show you some of the new features we've added to the ARP. So I've just got this preset at the beginning called Penultimate Fantasy. So let's find a chord. So here we've added chants. So I'm just going to reduce the amount of steps. So maybe I'll just put, just to start getting some more like random evolving sounds. Change the gate and the velocity. And then we have this generate button. So if I press it, I can start adjusting the velocity and the gates. And then we've added this feature that's similar to pigments. So every half bar here, they'll all start changing. So you can have this like ever-evolving rhythmic pattern. Let me turn that off for a second. And we've also added cycles. So here you could open custom. I don't know, let's just choose a minor 11, major 7, who knows. And then cycle allows you just to play that once. Let me open and turn that on. So in your sound, you can start getting like interesting sequences as part of your DAW. Maybe we can go twice. I'm gonna turn off all these chances. For example. So it's just like a fun way of just adding some sequences to your presets. And then the final thing is to say that the effects have been redesigned, like the whole interface, and in the main effects we have insert and sense. So yeah, that's kind of like an overview of the V2, listing some mallets. I wanted to move on to now voices and strings. So voices and strings were the first instruments that we brought out in 2021. And through that time, we've learned a lot about Augmented and listened to lots of the customers about what they liked about voice and strings and what they felt could be improved. And yeah, there was definitely some work to be done on the factories, we felt, factory presets, and some work to be done on missing content. So first, let's listen to strings, because we've added in this product, this instrument. Let me just do a default preset. So inside we've added chamber strings. So there's 25 articulations of chamber strings. So we can just have a quick listen. So like the chamber string would be, I think it's 4 basses. The celli were 6 celli, 6 violas, and I think it's 8 violins. So all recorded over these articulations. Some nice staccatos, some big tremolos. One of my favourite articulations we've added are these soltastos. So that's in a celli, and we'll listen to the violin in a second. So like really scratchy, light playing. Really great to start making presets with that. And then we've added them all full, so it's like a sort of chamber ensemble. And then we have violas. And then I'll just show you the soltasto on the violins just because it sounds so beautiful. So just such great starting points for then making all your augmented patches. And then inside, if you're not sure, there's orchestral strings and there's solo strings from bass, cello, violin, and viola. And then for the additional and the process samples, we've added 20 more additional and process samples. So I thought I'd just go through some of the factory or the presets, and we can just have a little listen to this new factory bank. So there's 200 new presets inside this instrument. Some dark cinematic stuff. Yeah, lots of really fun presets to be played there. And I just love the new UI. We've been working with this guy called Frederick Cocotte, this guy from Munich, and yeah, the wallpapers are just absolutely stunning. I'm in love with them. They feel so inspiring, and yeah, really, really just enjoyable to look at, especially when playing the presets, changing the configurations. So just jump onto Voices. Again, Voices has had a big content update. So Voices V1 only had solo voices of male and female, which were good, but we felt they weren't quite that sort of cinematic composery quality of sound. So we went and recorded a 22-piece choir, so 11 men and 11 female. And now we have this real epic sound source inside Augmented Voices. So just do a default preset, and let's just have a little listen through to some of these. So R sustained, let's go. Really nice, powerful sounds, and we have some more softer ones. Have some ones that go like sort of flow with the swells. Really nice. Some ones that go over some syllables. Just have a quick listen. So you get the picture. So it's a few vowels, softs, louds, some staccatos, some changing over vowels. I'll just finish off with O drift just because it sounds crazy. So this is like they all start on one note and then drift away and come back. Pretty dark stuff. And again, so we split the categories, so female, male now, and then we've added some process and additional samples. I guess we could have a quick listen to those, because we didn't do that with strings. So processed, we take the samples and put them through some outboard, some guitar pedals, some vintage gear, some tape machines, and add different flavors from the original samples, stuff that you can't really get with the synth engines. So you get the idea. Let's just have a quick listen through some presets, and then we'll have a listen through these tiny little compositions, and then we'll do a Q&A, and then I think that'll be the end of the live stream. So we have voices trailer. I don't want to keep playing the same chords, I apologize. So big, cinematic trailer voice. Some more hybrid sounds. I love the sound. So yeah, you get the idea. Again, 200 brand new presets inside. If you own voices, go and download it. Go and download any of the instruments that you've had or owned. Really fun with the new workflow. Really great sounds and strings and voices. The final instrument, just to say to it be included in V Collection 11, is Augmented Yangtze. I mean, this came out a year ago, so I think there's quite a lot of content on the internet to see what's inside and the presets, but just to say there's 6 traditional Chinese instruments in there, from wind instruments, from like flutes to string instruments. I can just quickly play a few sounds just because it is one of my favorite augmented instruments we've made so far. Because Yangtze is this famous river in China, if you didn't know, so it's like to see the water underneath the instruments. It's, yeah, very cool. All right, I'll be very quick for the last section. Just gonna load a new file on Ableton. I guess we should look at one of the instruments while we listen. We can just gaze at strings. So I just made these 3 pieces, really simple, but just to give you an idea of what the collection now sounds like together. That's just like a little intro, so that's some strings, a bit of brass, the choir, Yangtze, sounding very cool. I love that one. Big brass bass, piano, strings, sounding really great. Just one final one and then we'll do a little Q&A. Pretty creepy. And these are just literally just some chord progressions and just finding some of the presets. I don't know, I spent not that long to get those quite epic cinematic sounds, so very happy with that. So I'm going to now jump onto the Q&A and yeah, see if there's any questions to be asked. Okay, the first question I see is 2.0 better on the CPU usage? Yes, I would say it is. We worked on this multi-core processing that's been out on Pigments, and it came out with Augmented, I think previously from V Collection 11. So yeah, it's better on CPU, and we've worked hard with sound design to like make sure we don't push the synth engines too much. So yeah, it is better. And then especially with like computers being upgraded through the years, it should be even better and better on the CPU. But yeah, something that we were aware of from V1 and we've worked on it. The second question I have is discounts on previous users. So I don't know if this is a V Collection question or Augmented. So if you've owned any Augmented, as I said a few times during this live stream, literally open up your Arpeggiator Software Center and you will get the big update. So Strings and Voices, you know, is free to anyone with loads of samples and this new factory bank. So it's like a real massive update. For V Collection, there's different tiers. So if you've owned V Collection X, it's cheaper to get V Collection 11. If you've owned 9 and previously, you get sort of different discount price going in. But all that should be on the FAQs and on the website. I guess you log into your Arpeggiator account and you can find what kind of offer you've been given depending on what you've owned previously. I've got a question, is there going to be a next update on the granular engine? It'll be interesting to know a little bit more information of what you would like from the granular engine. There are definitely some ideas that we've had, so some features, but nothing concrete. So yeah, please write in the comments of this live stream what you feel like is missing. And if you feel like there's missing from the Pigments granular engine, because we share similar code, maybe there's some other additional features that we could add. Can you walk us through the ARP section? I think I've done that. So skip back and have a look through that bit. Yes, I see that there's been quite a few dark mode requests. It's been one of the things that we want to add. This update became quite a large update in the end with terms of like a real complete overhaul of UX and UI. This was very important to us, but I understand that the dark mode is equally important to a lot of customers. So I feel potentially for the next instrument, I would quite like to commit to it, but let's see. But yeah, it's definitely on our radar, and I 100% agree that it'd be nice and great to add to the Augmented series. There's a question about saturation and how amazing and critical it is to audio effects. When will Arturia add a saturation within Pigments and V Collection products? I mean, we have a pretty substantial distortion module inside the SDK effects. Maybe you would like some more VA distortion, I'm not sure. But it would definitely add quite a lot of CPU to the overall instrument. But it's interesting. I mean, yeah, we could definitely look into it and rate the quality of our distortion, and perhaps if we feel like there's room for improvement, we could work on adding some more modes or a completely different new flavor of distortion. What was the name of the last patch you played? Oh, I don't know. Sorry. I don't know if that was from going through the patches or from the last sort of composition thing. I don't know. Maybe go through the live stream and try and see, or give me a timestamp on the comments and I'll try and answer the comments on YouTube. And I think, oh, there's one last question, I believe. Is MPE full touch controller for Augmented Series on your radar? So MPE is compatible with this instrument, and it's something we quite like to push, especially with like a cinematic, yeah, the composition world. So yeah, I don't know exactly about the full touch controller in terms of if we're going to bring one out. I'm not in that sort of department, but there's definitely talks about it. But yeah, if you owned an MPE full touch controller, it will work on Augmented Series, and the top 10, 20 presets are really, really well mapped to MPE, I believe. So try it out. And I believe that's all the questions we have. I'll just wait a couple of minutes, anything pops up. I don't think so. So just wanted to say thank you very, very much for joining me on this live stream. I've hope you learn why we've updated it. I hope you learned some of the new features. I hope you found it interesting. Again, I'll say it one more time. If you've owned any of the instruments, go on Arturia Software Center and download the update and have fun with this amazing, amazing update. And yeah, keep making music. All the love from Arturia.